2020 was definitely a whirlwind of a year, and we're excited to get 2021 underway. So thank you for joining us today. As a reminder, this is the MoneyMaker webinar for our reseller partners, where we cover product and marketing updates. We here at GoDaddy want to provide you with tips, tools, and resources to help you continue running your business successfully. So we've got some great things in store for you over the next few months, so make sure to keep an eye out for announcements within your Reseller Control Center. And also we send newsletters and emails and all that good stuff. I have a couple of things to cover before we jump into the main topic for today. First, you may have noticed a post in the RCC, or the Reseller Control Center, regarding an upcoming change to Managed WordPress. As you know, there are several tiers of this product available for you to sell, and the tiers that currently include SSLs are Ultimate and e-commerce. However, coming shortly, Basic and Deluxe tiers will be replaced with the new plans that include SSLs. The new Basic and Deluxe plans with SSLs are separate from the previous plans and have their own pricing. So once they launch, anyone who purchases Basic or Deluxe plans before then will receive the old plans that do not include SSL. We don't have a set launch date, but once we do, we'll make an announcement in the RCC so you can go price out the new products. And then the second thing is, if you haven't already, you will be receiving an email regarding changes to the reseller agreement and universal terms of service. This isn't anything major, but just something to be aware of moving forward. And you can view the changes from the links provided to you in the email. All right, so moving on, we're ready to jump into the webinar topic, which is dedicated server for. Hopefully I can switch the slide here. There we go. I'm your host, Alexa, and I'm in charge of reseller communication here at GoDaddy. The product experts that we have here today are Jeff, Matthew, and Jeffrey. Jeff is going to kick it off by talking about benefits, best fit users, and review competitive analysis. And then we'll pass it over to Matt, who's going to go into product details. And then Jeffrey will bring it home with a product demo. So some quick reminders before we get started. If you have questions, please enter them in the Q&A section, and we'll address them after Jeffrey's product demo is complete. And again, you can find the Q&A if you click on that chat button. There's general Q&A, and actually, I don't know if it shows up the same for you. I haven't been an attendee on a Bevy webinar before, but there should be a Q&A portion that you can click on and enter your questions there. That's the best way for you to enter your questions rather than in the general chat. Okay. Cool, perfect, thank you. I see Matthew just toggled the Q&A portion on for everyone, so perfect. Hopefully everyone can see that. Thank you. And then a reminder that this webinar is recorded, and it will be posted to our YouTube channel as well as the resource portal. So if you need to drop early, no worries, you can find everything there. And then I'll also post the demo separately in case you just want to check out the demo. So with that, we're ready to go, and I'll pass it over to Jeff so he can get the webinar rolling.
Thank you, Alexa. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope everyone's having a good day. So just got a few slides to everybody here today. I'll try to go into as much detail as I can and stick around later on if there's any questions. But today, just kind of going over the why behind the product rollout, why we were adding the product rollout, and a couple of the features. And then at the end, I have a slide to show some comparisons between us and some of our closest competitors. So, you know, who is a good fit for a dedicated server? Just a couple of examples here. Really, dedicated servers are aimed at agencies, web designers, or freelancers with experience with managing a server, as it can be difficult managing a server. So it is something that you need a little bit of experience in. But some of the top use cases, the first one I put on the list is you guys, our resellers. You know, many of our resellers will have their own dedicated server inside their GoDaddy account, managing some clients that they do business for. You know, whether that's you creating your own hosting packages or you charging your clients monthly. Other examples of what a dedicated server could potentially be used for: e-commerce or managing multiple sites. You know, if you find yourself developing multiple websites for multiple clients with like one place for them all to live. Dedicated server is perfect. Email server, another really popular way to use a dedicated server. Um, just hosting many email accounts all on one server, having, once again, just one spot for all of that thing, all that stuff to live, and many other things on the list here that I won't dive too deep into each one, but on the next slide I have a couple of examples. Okay, so the why behind dedicated server, why we're launching it. Well, as a product marketer, we're always on the lookout for what features are out there, what's something we can add to our portfolio, what's something we can deliver to our resellers and our customers. Faster provisioning time. Historically speaking, you may have to wait longer than you wanted to get it provisioned, which nobody wants that. Everybody, when you buy a product, wants that product to work straight away right out of the gate, which we're delivering currently. It can take up to 24 hours like our website suggests, but like our website also suggests, it usually is delivered in a few minutes, really fast. If there is something better out there like SSD hard drives, that's something that we want to deliver to everybody, and that's a part of the dedicated 4 or version 4 dedicated server rollouts. Better performance overall. The SSD drives, alongside with some other things that you'll hear from our product managers, are what's driving that performance. But that's really the why behind why we're rolling this product out, why we did it, is to give you newer and better features to give you better performance. Let's check out the next slide. Okay, so just a piece on each of my columns here. So performance and reliability. I don't want to steal too much from the other presenters that will be speaking today, but we are rolling out these bare metal servers where you have complete access to everything. You have all of the power of the server. One big contributor to the performance is that there's no virtualization software built into these, so you have 100% of that server. And that's really a big driving force as to why we did it and what you're getting with the 4th version of the dedicated servers. Control and flexibility. You do have a lot of control over what your server has, how powerful it is, how much storage space you have, which hard drives you have. You heard me talk about that we're adding an SSD drive. It doesn't mean that we're forcing people into it. You still have the option of the I'll call them the old school HDD drive. You can go SSD if you're looking for more power. You can upgrade your storage and power as you go along. And it's something that you can do at any point after you sign up for the server. As far as some of the upgrades go. Ease of use, just a couple of pieces on this. Always looking for ways to make our hosting control panels easier, or the experience easier for the customer. If you're experienced with dedicated servers and you want to manage 100% of the duties, you can definitely do so. If you'd like to let some of those duties rest on the shoulders of GoDaddy, we have programs like Fully Managed Service that you can sign up for, where we can take on some of those duties for you and lighten that load for you. Daily tasks, installing software, setting up email servers, managing your DNS, migrating websites, all of that work can be done by us. So that's an option that you do have, a really great one. And competitively speaking, not something that's offered everywhere. So it really does make life a little bit easier for you. On our next slide here, I have some competitive examples. This is probably the most honest slide I've ever publicly shared with anyone. Taking a look at my graph here, on the left side is where I think the GoDaddy or the competitor needs improvement. On the right side, where I think GoDaddy or the competitor is industry leading in that particular topic. Shopping around, looking at all these competitors, honestly, I've found InMotion to be our closest competitor. They're the yellow dot. GoDaddy is the light blue dot. But looking at all the competitors as a whole, you find a lot of great things at each one. Everyone has something great. You get the feeling that each competitor has something great that they're offering. But GoDaddy is what's rare about GoDaddy is that you feel like you get all of that wrapped up into one package, where we may not be the absolute best here in, like, let's say, hardware, for instance. There may be someone that has one little piece slightly better than us, but they're lacking in the fully managed service. They might be more expensive. They may be lacking in pricing. So you do see that light blue dot appear quite a bit to the right side of this graph, and it's one of the only places where you really get a whole package of security, price, and hardware all in one spot. And that's all I got for you guys. Thank you.
So we're gonna hop into product highlights, and yeah, you ready?
Yep.
Cool.
Waiting for the screen to update there. Awesome. Well, again, everyone, thanks for joining, and hope I can be heard okay. And apologize in advance if my dogs bark. It's a hazard of working from home. We got some construction outside that, of course, would have to happen right during the seminar, right? So I'm going to go over the product highlights with you and kind of dive in a little bit to what our actual platform offers and how that is going to be advantageous for you and for your customers. So one of the biggest things as we moved into our 4th generation of dedicated servers is really expanding the platform. And there's more expansion to come, but even in our current state, we're greatly expanded. Previous generation was really only available in the US. We are now in US in an EMEA data center, and for clarity, that EMEA data center is in Frankfurt, Germany. As Jeff teased a little bit, we also expanded the portfolio by offering both HDD drives and SSD drives. Very, very important to make sure we meet different customer needs. Some customers are looking for top tier performance, want blazing fast everything, and SSD is going to fulfill that need. Other customers are using these as large scale storage servers or servers that have not as much of a performance need, but much more of a usage need. So we got massive HDD drives up to 8 terabytes available. And then also we have a wide spread of CPU cores. Again, it goes with what your performance need is. If you are running tons of threads, going through lots of applications, you want to go to the big side and go all the way up to 16 cores. If you're running a little simpler application, but you still need that bare metal dedicated environment for security and compliance, you can run a little smaller server all the way down to 4 cores. Same thing as we go into the plan levels. It really just tails right off from the expanded platform with huge scope of RAM, anywhere from 32 to 256 gigabytes of RAM available on those servers for you. The storage, HDD starts down at 4 terabytes, jumps all the way to 8 terabytes, like I said, and both of our drive types are protected by RAID 1 hardware. And for SSD, little smaller, but SSD drives, as we probably most of us know just from our own computers and just the internet world right now, they typically don't come larger, and they are a little bit more expensive. So we have a little bit smaller drive there to keep the pricing, in line, but that's a half a terabyte all the way up to a terabyte SSD. We'll dive a little more in the managed levels in a further slide, but we do have a couple different levels of management, the way that your customers and you will help your customers interact with those servers, depending on their knowledge, skills, and overall use case as well. Features are, of course, a big part about any new product, right? Why would we launch new products without having new features? So one of the big things we have is monitoring notifications. We partnered with Panopta to bring in a really robust monitoring system into our product. Every customer, despite what they may buy for a tier, will get a piece of monitoring software that will graph up to a year of history, and it monitors CPU, RAM, disk space, and also alerts on those items if they hit our preset thresholds. The fully managed server side, so the top tier where you have some additional help, has a even more robust template with Panopta that'll monitor services such as HTTP, FTP, SSH, things of that nature. And also we have a lot of room to grow with that monitoring service and plan on continuing to iterate on that and adding a lot to it as this year continues. And then one of the things we have is there's a network level DDoS protection. Customers don't have to do anything for this. It's nothing that a customer needs to even be aware that's necessarily happening. But at the data center layer, if strange large amounts of traffic start coming in from particular IPs or IP ranges, we will automatically block those traffic ranges until those subside. In the past, this would have been at the server level, so it's the server software configuration or software firewall configuration that would need to block these. And being honest, 9 times out of 10, that software didn't actually catch those, and the DDoS did what unfortunately DDoS is intended to do, and take the server down. But being at the DC level and the network level, we're catching much more of those types of attacks and protecting our customers' assets and making sure that those servers stay up and running and available to their legitimate traffic. On to the next slide. Cool. So some of the things that are very new with this and being transparent. So our dedicated servers are coming from OVH. Many of you might be aware of OVH, many of you might not have heard of them, but they are a great company that we have a very exclusive and very high level contract with. And they supply our hardware for us, and they keep our hardware in their data centers. Some of the advantages of this is we can really pass on the savings of not having to have that operational expenditure onto you and to our end customers. We don't have to have people on site managing those servers. And also, OVH is a company that is 100% focused on this hardware type. Unlike GoDaddy, where we have a very wide portfolio of products, we're not necessarily focused on one item. Having that focus really gives us the best hardware out there, the best performance out there, and the best reliability that we can achieve. So on that, just for the sake of clarity too, with the relationship with OVH Cloud, we don't fully abstract that from customers, but we don't fully come out and say it anywhere either. If the customer goes in the command line, there's a few commands that they'll see that the OVH network names would be referred to. So it can be found, but again, we're also not intentionally trying to hide that. So it's kind of in the middle ground there. Our IP addresses, because this is a question, we do supply the IP addresses over to OVH. So if you would do an IP who is look up an IP address that's bound to one of these boxes, it would return back to be part of the secure server / GoDaddy network, just like our IP addresses on other products you may be familiar with. So that is good, and that's actually very important for us too, to make sure that if one of our customers is maybe doing something not correct and they get a complaint, copyright complaint, spam complaint, something like that, that those complaints get directed over to us, since we have the business relationship with the customer and OVH doesn't directly have that relationship. A little more about the data centers. Already commented Frankfurt, Germany for US, or for EMEA, and for US, we're in Virginia, Vint Hill to be exact. So spreading those data centers out a little bit, giving a couple locations. Obviously, we're reducing those hops to take and keeping a much better network connectivity. It is not set in stone, but there are plans and ideas for further expansions into other locations too. So we're hopeful for that, but this platform gives us the ability to do that, and our relationship with OVH gives us the availability to do that. Already talked about HD and SSD disks and that spread. We're still, I'll reiterate it again, we're very proud of that, to have both available, because it does fit just such a wide amount of use cases. And the last one of what's new compared to the Gen 3 is these are truly bare metal servers. They're not virtualized single tenant VMs, anything like that. They are up, down, left, right, bare metal servers. It's awesome for our customers to be able to have that at their disposal for certain compliance issues, to have the full top bottom control of their hardware. On to the next. Okay, a little more. Total right now, 8 plan tiers, split between 4 plan tiers in HDD, 4 plan tiers in SSD. Again, gives us that widespread, fits as many of the customer needs as we can cram in there without getting confusing. RAM spread, it's over 8x the times the RAM available from the previous offering. So definitely upped our game a little bit there, put quite a bit more performance in front of the customers, and are now right along with some parity in the market versus always being behind on what our offerings are. And I've already harped on this size so many times already, but having the RAID 1 redundancy is awesome too. Just to make sure that if there is any problems, that we are able to fail that drive back over and recover the customer's data. And OVH helps us with that and is always on the spot and always on call to assist us in that. And I teased it, but here's a little more detail about the management levels. Really a two-way pyramid of the management levels. We can focus on ease of use or focus on more control. Start at the top of the pyramid really is our apex of our offering. It's our fully managed server offering. We have a team of professionals here at GoDaddy, which obviously would be acting on behalf of your reseller, that admin the servers, work on the servers with the customers, and fulfill customer requests for certain configuration items, migrating servers, things of that nature. It really makes it so the customer that's at the end of this, the only thing they have to worry about is the content that's on their server, running their websites. This tends to be really, really good for like design agencies that do web design, but maybe don't have the in-house expertise or the bandwidth in-house to do server maintenance, do server patching, all that stuff, but still has that really big server that has really great performance for your clients on that server. Moving down, kind of in the middle tiers, the customers that would choose one of our servers versus a control panel. We offer cPanel and Plesk. I would assume most of us on this call are familiar with both of those control panels. There's still a learning curve. There's no fools there, but it gives a much easier interface to set up domains, set up websites, interact with databases, install applications, etc. Kind of gives the best of both worlds. You'll still be in charge of managing your server and adminning your server, but you don't have to do everything from scratch. The control panels will help you out quite a bit. And then down at the bottom, but by no means the bottom, this is the basis of everything, is what we tag as self-managed servers. What we mean by that is there's no software tier pre-installed that helps you with the management of the things you may put on that server. I like to joke that at this level, you're buying a server and you're getting a blinking cursor, and that's where you have to start. It sounds ominous, but for people who know what they're doing, it's amazing. You don't have the overhead of a control panel that's eating up a little bit of your RAM or a little bit of your storage. You can go any direction with these, and the world is your oyster at that point. Put anything you want on these servers. They're bare metal. They're wide open to you. Fulfill whatever internet online goals you have on that box. So just a quick overlay, just some core features. We've already talked about Panopta. Operating systems, we're running Windows Server 2016 and 2019 right now. 2016 will start to tail off as that sunsets from Microsoft's offerings. We have Sense 7, and Sense 7 is where our cPanel and Plesk add-ons are available. That's the platform that'll run that. In Ubuntu 2004, and we'll have a Debian version here shortly. On Sense 7, not sure if anybody in the audience has been paying much attention. We would have been on Cent 8 until the news at the beginning of the year where Cent has changed their release into Cent Stream, which we found won't be a long-term support for things like cPanel and Plesk. So we are actively exploring what will be the next iteration after Cent 7. But Cent 7 does have a lifespan still until 2024, so our runway is still very long on that. We have a recovery console, which is a nice little feature. So the recovery console works when something has gone wrong on the server. Maybe your software went sideways, the server is locked up on you. Those things happen. The recovery console gives you a way to get into it virtually, kind of like a roll-up console if you're actually in the data center. So you can sign back into that server and start to either recover the data or in most cases recover the server just with a few simple commands. That also helps when you have locked yourself out of firewall or software. Firewall lockouts, it sounds silly, but anyone who's worked in server support here at GoDaddy would back me up on this. You're going to get calls on a very regular basis where somebody put a wildcard into their firewall and literally blocked every IP address and every port access into their firewall. This recovery console lets you undo that. Without a recovery console, you get to rebuild the server and start from scratch. So huge leg up for that mistake that happens all too often. And there's also rescue mode, which is similar to recovery console, where we can get to the server's content when disaster strikes. So if the server has truly started to fail in any form, whether it be software cause or hardware cause, and we're doing what we can to make sure hardware doesn't happen, but the truth is it's machinery, just like our laptops at home, things do fail. That rescue mode will help you get back in and make sure that content can be recovered. And in some levels too, that the server can actually be fully recovered. think that's it for those slides.
Yeah, looks like it. And then thank you so much. That was great info. Very action-packed. And we're going to move on to the product demo now. So hopefully Jeffrey's ready.
Hey, everyone. Yep, this is Jeffrey here. I'm going to be showing you the product demo. So I'm going to be sharing my screen here. Just a quick little bit of information here. Originally, the plan was to have the video contain the audio, but unfortunately that didn't work out with this particular system that we're using. So we have to have me kind of talk over the video as it's playing and do my best to try to, I guess, duplicate what I'm saying on the video. So if I stumble through things, I appreciate any patience and as few LOLs in the chat as possible. All right, give me 1 second here. All right. Thanks, Matt. I always appreciate your support, buddy. Okay. So this is the webinar for DED4. We call it dedicated fourth generation dedicated server, but internally we refer to it as DED4. That's what it'll be known as in the MYH system. So for the purpose of this system, we're going to be using a Linux server with CentOS 7 and cPanel. We also, as Matt highlighted, offer Plesk Web Host Edition for CentOS 7. And if you have no control panel, we currently have Ubuntu and Windows Server options, but eventually we will have Debian. So we're going to go over provisioning the server, which is the basic steps of setting up and your username, password, going through the server dashboard and what we call MYH, and then doing an overview of WHM, really high level stuff. So the first steps you're going to see me take here is actually provisioning the server. So you go to the My Product screen and select your server and click Manage. The first thing you're going to be asked is to put in your server name, and then you choose your data center. The data center option we're going to use today is Europe, and then you'll be given an option to choose your operating system. If you've chosen one like cPanel or Plesk, when you go through the purchase path, you're going to be defaulted to CentOS 7. So you can't choose Debian with cPanel. You can only choose CentOS 7 if you're going with cPanel or Plesk. The next step would be to enter in your username and password, and then confirm your password. And then you'll hit next from there. We do have some fairly strict username and password requirements, so make sure you use those. So from here, the server then provisions, which takes up to an hour, as Jeff stated earlier, but in most cases it's much shorter than that. Now we're actually inside the server dashboard. We refer to it internally as MYH. If you have ever used our VPS4 offering from our previous offering, our previous webinar, it's going to be very, very familiar for you. So the tabs at the top of the screen will show you the main options that you have, and inside those tabs are different options. So from there, you can go to the Accounts tab if you're using cPanel, and it'll actually allow you to not only create cPanel accounts, but select different cPanel accounts and then launch directly into cPanel without having to go through WHM. Further down is the History tab, which shows you all the history that happens on the server, things like starting, stopping the server, rebooting it, enabling or disabling admin access, or even reprovisioning the server. And you can see additional details as you're going through and clicking through those little plus signs there. To the right is the Usage tab. You can see real-time usage of your stats like CPU, RAM, disk space, and uptime monitoring. The Server Actions button is where you control things like power cycle, rescue mode, rebuilding the server, or entering the recovery console. To the right of that is where you can click the button to launch in WHM. If you're using Plesk, this would also be replaced with Launch Plesk. The Monitoring tab actually shows you a lot of the details Matt was talking about with Panopta. So this is where you can see the actual usage in the server. There's not going to be any traffic on this server just because it was a test that we set up for this account, but this is where you would see usage and activity on the server. The notifications card on the right is where you can set up and enable your alerts that Matt had described earlier, which show you usage, service, and uptime alerts that would come directly to your email. And then going over to settings is where you can actually manage the server's identity and details. So you can change and view your things like your server username. You can view the password, see the cPanel and WHM access URLs. This is also where you can actually enable or disable admin access. So going over to the access card and going to admin access and clicking on manage. So I'll show you where you can check or uncheck the box to enable or disable admin access. Now, if you go over to WHM and click that launch WHM button, you'll see WHM. Now from here, we're going to just quickly kind of gloss over WHM. Hopefully all of you have a little bit of experience with that, but this is where you can do things like create cPanel accounts, view cPanel accounts, or manage your cPanel packages, or look at the actual reseller settings. You can also do things like transfer other cPanel accounts from other servers, or even manage your backup and restore details. You also have the ability to manage certain services like the server processes, other service management, and then your disk usage. The top bar is where you can view whether or not there are updates that need to be installed. On the left-hand side is where you'll actually see some clickable links that give you access to WHM and cPanel resources. And then you have a search bar here where it's super smart and you can literally type in pretty much whatever you're looking for. So for example, here we use an example of typing in easy to get easy Apache, which is where you would modify your different PHP versions or packages on your server. And then logging out of the WHM, just simply close the tab by clicking on the X, and then it gets you out of WHM. That's a really, really fast demo of our dedicated for server.
Well done, Jeffrey. That was awesome. Zero hesitation there, even though we were having some technical difficulties. So great job. Let me go ahead and share my screen again here.
For those watching the video after the webinar, you'll actually hear the original audio recording, which is far more articulate than what you just got from me just now. So,
well, I thought it was great. But yeah, we will post the recording along with the demo recording along with the webinar recording, just in case you want to revisit it later. And so, yeah, I mean, I thought it was great, Jeffrey. And then thank you again to our other presenters, Jeff and Matthew. You guys did a great job. So much good information that was well packaged. And so we do have time for some Q&A. I mentioned before, please enter your questions in the Q&A portion. It looks like there aren't any right now. We had one earlier and it was answered. So I will kind of awkwardly pause here and give everyone time. If you do have a question, please post it in the Q&A portion so we can take care of it. And then if you think of a question later on that, wasn't something that you were able to ask on this webinar, feel free to post it in the community. The community, the Reseller Rodeo, that's monitored by Andy, and also Angela does take a look at those questions posted there. So they monitor everything in the community and we'll be able to answer everything. All right, so a couple questions came through. We have a question on pricing. So I think Chelsea is on this call. Chelsea is the one that would be able to answer that. I'm pretty sure, so correct me if I'm wrong, the product is available for price to check out pricing if you go into your reseller control center, and then the product is actually launching in about a week or so. Okay, it looks like she's not connected to audio, so I'm going to go with that answer. You can go into your reseller control center and look at all of the pricing and price out the product, and then the product should be launched in about a week. Another question, can I upgrade from a VPS to a dedicated server? That would be one for one of the product people.
So because these are bare metal servers, there is no direct upgrade or downgrade path with them. Not even from not just from our VPS to our dead servers, but also even within the actual dead tiers. So if a customer went with our lowest tier, which is we call DS32, they cannot upgrade to DS64 without purchasing a separate server and then migrating their content over. So easiest answer to that question is no. There's no direct.
Okay. And then I did see Chelsea's in the chat. So she said, yes, that's correct. Pricing is in the RCC. So just going back to that question before the upgrade question. When will they be available? So again, they should be launching in about a week. We will send out a notification within the RCC that it is available. And then also we have a newsletter that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks as well. So we will announce it in the newsletter. Next question, how is CentOS working since I thought it was going away? Okay, how is CentOS working since I thought it was going away, going to be unsupported, and or being taken over by another entity? If the question is not in scope, no worries. Anyone have any insight to that one?
Yeah, I can do my best to answer that. So CentOS isn't losing total support. It's just changing the way that their release structure is going to go. Cent 7, which I mentioned is good until 2024, will remain in support, fully supported until next 3 years. So we're very safe there. As far as future releases of Cent, there is a lot of question mark in the industry right now, and a lot of folks positioning on what would be the flagship replacement of that. There's multiple different distros of Red Hat that are coming in. It looks like cPanel, which is one of our big deciding factors, has already made a statement to say that they will not release on Cent Stream, which is Cent's long-term release after Cent 7, which Cent Stream is live now. So without cPanel adopting Cent, it kind of puts a nail in their proverbial coffin. That's a lot of folks who won't do that. But cPanel also has not come out and directly said which Linux distro that they will support post CentOS 7. So we're waiting for those news to land to make a decision. There's also a lot of feelings and thoughts that Cent may backpedal on their announcement they made in early January about not continuing on the current release cycle, just since they've gotten so much negative pushback. So our ears to the ground. We're waiting and seeing. It's been very dynamic. It feels like every day we get a little more information, and that information doesn't match what we heard the previous day. So we'll keep working on it, and we will make sure on these platforms, though, that whatever is the most stable and the most long-term releases that are out there in the environment, we do everything we can to adopt those and make those available to our customers.
Awesome. Thank you for that industry insight. Went above and beyond for that answer. So great one. And then next question, you mentioned that the managed WordPress SSL has been postponed on the reseller panel. It stated launch on 1/20. The updated post should say that it hasn't launched yet, that we're waiting for a launch date. I know the original post did say that it was going to be launched on January 20th. It did get pushed back a little bit due to some delays, but yeah, we'll post when it's coming. I mean, it is coming, but we'll just we'll post when it's available. Should be soon. All right, that takes care of the questions that are in there right now. I'll give a couple more minutes in case anyone is typing. As a reminder, everything's recorded, so we will be posting this in the reseller YouTube page, which is always linked from our newsletters, which we'll be sending out a newsletter here shortly. And then the recording will also be posted in the reseller resource portal. So all of our webinars are posted in there. You can always go back and check those out. And then I'll also post the recorded demo that Jeffrey had prepared earlier for us. So you can go in and just watch the demo if you want. I will take some of the important slides from this webinar, and I'm gonna, I'll post them also as separate separately from the recordings and everything, so you can check those out if you want to just read through some of the high-level details. I don't see any questions coming through, so I'm going to go ahead and call it for now. Again, if you have any burning questions later on that you think of, feel free to post them in the community. Again, it's monitored by Andy and Angela, so they will be able to help you out there. And again, thank you so much to all of our hosts. You guys did a great job presenting. And Angela, I appreciate you hopping in and taking care of the chat and all of your technical help getting this bevy set up. So huge thank you, and we'll see you on our next webinar.